So I know it's been a very long time since I made a video. It's been like 8 months, but I felt the need to come out here and make this video today because this is a game I've been watching closely for 3.5 years. It's been developed by a YouTuber named BigfryTV. Most of you should probably be familiar with who that is if you've been hanging around my channel even back then. And how I even first heard of him was he commented on one of my videos 10 years ago. Time is a-going. But I digress. He was in a position to finally achieve a dream I had of mine back then, which was to be like successful and big enough as a YouTube content creator to be able to create and develop your own game with your own team. And he's living that dream, and it's kind of awesome to see. And this is his game, Transients. So I want to talk about it because I waited 3.5 years. I watched the devlogs. I finally played it. I completed it in just under 6 hours. And I want to share my thoughts on it because it's kind of controversial. Well, not controversial. Let's not, it's mixed. It's kind of mixed like the reviews on Steam are at the moment. Initially, the reviews were positive coming out of the gate. And over time, with over 270 reviews now, it's sitting at mixed with like a 64% positivity rating or whatever. And I feel like that's kind of fair for it. Having played it to completion, there are some missteps, but overall the experience isn't terrible. You know, the actual full sale price of this thing is $19 USD, $19, right? It's not a lot. It's even right now, it's got a 15% launch deal going on. Like you pay 15% off and you get it for like 17 bucks. It's, for what it is, it's a great experience. I haven't personally experienced a lot of bugs playing it. I know there's some people that are mentioning bugs. The only real thing I kind of experienced was maybe the subtitles not lining up with the cutscene at one point.
Right. Dug out some old road dives I took, compiled the data. The assistant here did the sorting. Thanks, Kabeni.
But ultimately, the experience has been relatively smooth in terms of like the polish. The game feels polished to play. It really does. The reason why this game even stood out to me in the first place, watching him develop it, is because it was like a throwback to all these old games that I used to play in the past. You think of Fear, you think of Rainbow Six, you think of Splinter Cell. The game is trying to do all of those things, all at once. And it does it kind of well. Like the gunplay, the movement, although a little clunky and a little slow, it's good. And I actually remember playing the beta, or not the beta, the demo. So a long time ago, they released a little demo, it was just a shoot house. And I actually sunk, I don't even want to admit how many hours, I don't remember. It was a lot. I put a lot of hours into that demo because I was having so much fun just ripping through the shoot house, killing these guys, watching the ragdoll physics, just lighting up their corpses. It had a really good feel to it. Where I feel like that feel was somewhat lost in the release, which is weird. You think that like it would have been improved? I almost want to like have the demo build back so I can draw comparisons. Because like when they were mentioning that the game was going to release imminently, I went to go download the demo again and I couldn't find it. And apparently they removed it because they said the gameplay is so far off from what it was. And now I wish I can remember, because when I played the demo, I don't know if it's like rose tinted glasses, terrible memory. I am getting old. It could just be I felt that it was better. I don't know why. Something about it felt a little bit smoother to what I have and what I'm playing now. And I can't quite put my finger on it. But despite that, it still has a great player controller. It's still pretty decent. It's still a fun experience. For what you're paying and what you're getting, you know, if this is the kind of game you can stomach, like, it's a very heavily narrative, story-driven game. So if you're, like, the intro, for example, it's very long monologuing. It's like 2 hours of you're just sneaking around with no power armor. You're just kind of maneuvering through the environment while this character talks to you the whole time. And the character's name is Eli Reed, which, fun fact, is the name of my 3-month-old son. So that's the life for you. Reflect back to why I haven't been making videos. I have a child now, so, you know, takes time, takes me away from this. But regardless, you play as Eli, and he's an accountant, and he's like being hunted. He's red listed, blacklisted, all the things, you know. Now you're the guy that they're contracting people to come kill you. You're the hit now, and you're trying to figure out why. And it takes you through this whole city of New Houston, and it's delivered in a decent way, but I feel like it's a slog in the beginning, kind of. Not in a terrible way. Like, I have the patience to kind of like absorb the information, play the game, and enjoy it for what it is, like realistically. But other people don't. And it's hard to say if that's because, you know, you can't sit here and be like, oh, well, you know, the pacing's all off. It's terrible. It's terrible pacing. Okay, well, if you guys remember the original Half-Life, you were sitting on a fucking train for like 10 minutes at the beginning of as the credits rolled, right? And that was in the 90s, and that was like a mind-blowing experience back then. So to sit here and be like, well, you know, it's a slog in the beginning. To me, I enjoyed it because it was reminding me of those old games. The intro was very Half-Life 2-esque. You rolled up on a subway. In Half-Life 2, you roll up on a train. Here, you roll up on a subway. You get out, you're walking around the city. It's the exact same kind of thing. The tutorial is told to you through the gameplay in such a way that feels natural, doesn't interfere with anything. There's no like cutscenes playing or anything like that. There are cutscenes in this game, but they happen later. And sometimes they do get excessive. Sometimes they do drag on. Like sometimes it's kind of like, you know, you just want to get the ball rolling and get moving and kill things. I feel like a lot of the story could have been condensed down without having so much dribble and unnecessary talking about things. Like it seems like, yeah, it was a very story-driven game, but it felt like it was being shoved down my throat. So much so, with like, it's just so much dialogue and so much explaining when you could have got to the point. And I feel like later on in the game, like towards the end, you start to feel that, okay, the story is a little bit better now. I'm a little bit more interested because now we're kind of getting more to the point. Like things are a little bit more interesting now. Where in the beginning, it's almost like it's trying to set up the tone, but it's setting up the tone in like a very long way. Like you're telling me the tone versus showing me the tone. If you're going to compare games like Half-Life 2, where you just kind of figure out the story by watching the environment around you, see the way the NPCs are reacting with like the Combine and all that kind of stuff, you kind of pick up the story, you pick up the environment. The environment tells the story. You get the idea of what this world is. Where in this game, it's like, yeah, okay, you have a beautiful city, it's interesting, it's cool, but the environment doesn't really tell you much. Your character is just going on and on and on, monologuing in your ear to tell you that story. Which again, not terrible. But I would much rather environmental storytelling, personally. I feel like that's a little bit more immersive as a player. I get they were going for like the Max Payne thing. And again, not terrible. But let's move on, because that's the least of the problems here. The gunplay is phenomenal. The gameplay is phenomenal. Although I find myself typically doing the same thing in every game I play. And that's like reverting to the most efficient way of playing. And that tends to be like the Panther style from Blacklist, Splinter Cell Blacklist, which is basically you kill everyone in sight. You're stealthy, but you're killing everybody. Because there's no need to leave people alive in this game. There's no point. Like the idea that I want to sneak past everyone, yeah, for the challenge, great. But if this was real life, I'm not going to leave people alive. Like I know that sounds awful, but it's true. If this was real, I would absolutely kill all these motherfuckers in my way. The reason why? Because you're eliminating the threat. The last thing you want is for threats to be behind you. When you think of a game like Splinter Cell, right? The stealthiness in that game, the idea of not touching anybody, not knocking anybody out, sneaking past guards, interrogating only those you absolutely have to, it makes sense given the context of that environment and that story, because you are not even supposed to be there. So leaving evidence is contrary to what your mission is about. You don't want bodies. You don't want to leave a single NATO round on the ground of 5.7 millimeter or whatever. You don't want any evidence that you were even there. So there's like this believable backstory to why you need to be stealthy in the first place, right? Where in this game, it's like, oh, we're just going to make an amalgamation of many things. Stealthy, action, whatever. You got cool gadgets. Go have fun. It's a sandbox. Do what you want. Which is great, but I feel like it kind of restricts the flow of gameplay in a way, right? Because you kind of have to design the game around an idea. And this idea was like, okay, we need stealth, we need action. You got slow-mo, like fear, like it could straight up be an action-based shooter. You can play this like an absolute savage, just run around. go into slow motion, like shoot everybody. Like you can be a brutal killing machine with your rifles, or you can be Sam Fisher and sneak by everybody. The AI kind of makes it, it's been patched since, but there were like times where you couldn't even sneak up on guys and stab them in the back. The gameplay, there was like a issue with them being able to spot you and turn around at the last minute. But like the stealthy aspects of this game don't feel quite grounded and polished in a way that I feel is believable. And what I mean by that is, like, if you look at the top of your HUD, you have a visibility meter, and that visibility meter, it honestly feels like no matter where that bar is, that visibility meter means fuck all to me. Because I could be with like the lowest visibility in the shadows and total darkness, and these guys spot me from like a half quarter mile away. Like you see the thing fill up really fast. Like it'll fill up and then I'll duck behind an object and it'll still be filling. It's almost like it has like a delayed reaction to me moving out of their line of sight. And it doesn't feel good. Like you get spotted in really weird ways. It's almost like all the lights are on. Like, why is there even darkness? That's how I feel. Like I'm just sitting here. Maybe your visor glows green. You know, that's kind of obvious, right? You see that in the dark, you're obviously gonna, you know, spot a guy. But the stealth aspect felt more like I had to use objects versus like shadows and like positioning to be able to get around guards. It felt more like I was playing Deus Ex. Really, if you think back to the Deus Ex stealth, that's kind of how it was. You were kind of trying to like break lines of sight, move around objects, remain stealthy. But I don't know, man. It's hard to say because balancing stealth with like a threatening AI, where if you get spotted, like chances are you're gonna die, right? That's kind of what also can brute force you to be stealthy, is having extremely challenging AI that will fuck you up if you're spotted. But then if you're going to have an action shooter element to it, they can't be that good, because then the second you start opening up fire and they turn around, they dome you instantly, that's frustrating. So you have to balance it carefully. And it's a difficult task, you know, and for what they've done, I feel like they've done a decent enough job, but it always had me playing the game the same way every time, which is just run around and shoot everybody with suppressed weapons, leave nobody alive. There's no point. So that's what let me, you know, I was able to finish the game in just 6 hours flat because of that. And I rarely use my gadgets, I'll be honest. Like I rarely used, like I never felt the pressure to do it. I never felt the need. I was kind of just like, fuck it. You know, I'll just like shoot everybody. Like I'll just shoot everybody, man. I'll just play the game. Like I'll just kill everybody with guns because it was just too easy. The AI is not that great. And it was a concern I had watching the gameplay in the first place, was seeing that they kind of just do the thing. It reminds me of Rainbow Six Vegas 2. Okay, you play Terrorist Hunt on that. I had this whole system on like the villa map where you would like slaughter everyone on the ground floor, go up to the roof, camp the stairwell, and they would literally just run up the stairs over and over again. You kill all the remaining terrorists and you would farm that. I had a system of farming that game, playing against the brain dead AI. And if we're comparing the AI in this game to games like that, it's about the same. So if you're going to be like, Rainbow Six Vegas 2 is this great, phenomenal game, well, dude, this is about the same. So if you say 1-8 games AI is good, and then this one's bad, but they're about the same, maybe that means that game's AI is also bad? So, you know, which, anyway, I digress. The AI needs improvement, period. Like, there was a lot of moments where I was like, man, they're so oblivious. I shoot a guy beside, like, dude, when you hear your friend's head explode and his brain matter, some of it's like stuck in your hair and you don't even react. You just sit there like, yo, man, look at that fucking light over there at that building. Is it people making out? Like, you're just completely oblivious to like, come on. You know, if I shoot someone, even just the sound of the bullet cracking through the air would drive attention to where I am. Like, a suppressor, and I get it. The game, you know, is trying to be stealthy. They're not trying to have, like, you fire it and you get a sonic boom for the bullet cracking past you and all the guards, because then it would be really ridiculous, because there would be really no stealth at all. So, balancing it's difficult. And the AI being the way it is just makes it more efficient to play it one way more than the other. And that's just kind of how I went with it. I wish they were more aggressive. Not necessarily in their accuracy and their ability to kill you, but with their positioning. Like, I would like to get rushed. You know, like, if I'm in a hallway and I shoot a guy and buddy goes down, like, why is the guy not leaning around the corner and just suppressing the hell out of me? Like, I would love to be, like, in a situation where if I'm going up against two guys in a hallway, like in the beginning of this game, and I drop one, two other guys come out, and they know I'm there. They know there's a threat. Buddy got shot in the face. Like, you hear them, like, fighting each other. Like, there's moments in the game where the AI battles each other, and, like, the story element of, like, you hear the chaos of, like, oh, they're sweeping the rooms, and all the automatic gunfire, and they're, like, slaughtering everybody. Okay, but yet they just dial it back for me. You know, they're like, all of a sudden, I enter the room, I shoot once, and instead of them, like, all pointing in my direction and unloading their magazines, they all just start walking over slowly to get shot in sequential order in the face. Like, it's a little, you know, this is a little on the nose there with the AI not being too great. But overall, the game is, I would say I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. The biggest gripe I have is maybe the performance. The performance of this game is pretty abysmal at times. I have a RTX 3060 laptop, so it's nothing like, you know, it's not a crazy gaming system at all, but I can play like lots of games that look visually superior. I can play games like Trepang too, you know, at like 70, 80, 90 FPS with DLSS. Natively, I'm getting 60 FPS. It runs well. You can change the settings. There's plenty of games that I've played on my laptop that run great. This one has the variance of like the fucking NASDAQ, man. Like, it goes from 30 FPS to 120 FPS, and it just flies between that depending on where I am, what I'm doing. If I equip night vision, it's an automatic drop of 10 frames per second. So that's not a big deal. If, like, let's say you have 80 or 90 FPS and you turn on your NVGs, it drops by 10 and you're still at like 80, 70. But when you're playing at like 40, 30 FPS and you pop on your NVGs and suddenly you're playing at 20, like, that's a problem. You know, it's a little bit of a slap in the face in that moment. Because especially the times that you really need them is like an intense shootout. You need the night vision to see in the dark, and you can't really engage anybody. It's very difficult, and the performance is just awful. But like, that's, to me, like, when I think of optimization in games, I think like if your performance has a very wide like envelope of performance, like you've got like a huge range, you're not optimized well enough. Like, at least in my eyes. The game needs to have, like, you need to narrow that down somehow so that you get kind of a more average, consistent performance across the board. In fact, there were times where I straight up just played the game at, I cap it at 30 FPS, which is absurd, but doing that actually felt smoother than just the wild fluctuations of the frame rate. So, yeah, man. Performance, kind of a letdown. But you know how that can be solved? Sound like a broken record because I've mentioned it a million times already. And I even commented in the discussions on Steam, putting this game on GeForce Now. That streaming service is fucking god tier, man. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it replaces PC gaming, but for me, it absolutely does. That service gives me games I can play at like up to 240, 360 frames per second, like, depending on the resolution I pick. Like, it is a phenomenal service for what you're getting, what you're paying. Like, I played all of Battlefield 6. I have 100 hours in Battlefield 6, all of it, GeForce Now. Trepang 2, which is also bundled with this game in its launch on GeForce Now. Like, lots of games I have played on GeForce Now. It's almost like, I would say, my main gaming platform. I can play it on my Steam Deck. I can play it on everything. It's great. And speaking of Steam Deck, if you're trying to play this game on it, good luck. I downloaded it. I tried to play it. Not that, you know, using gyro aim and whatever, you can get around like the lack of aim assist with the controller. However, the performance, again, abysmal. You're lucky if you can even have a like steady 30 FPS. So it's just not going to work with the Steam Deck. You're better off playing this on a more beefy PC. Or if they, you know, ever decide to opt in to GeForce Now and look at adding their game on the service, then you wouldn't have to worry if you're like me and you're already using it. You'll just get an RTX 5080 or 4080 rig and play the game with no problems. But optimization is still something I would like to see regardless of all that. So overall, the game is not terrible. It's not particularly great, but it's a good game. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Interstellar Marines too, which is the game that I was following a lot of back in the day. If I were to actually kind of like, let's say, like mismatch like the gameplay, taking the player controller and the movement of Interstellar Marines, where you have a little bit more speed, and putting it in this game, I feel like would have given me a much more fun experience. Like being able to move fast while shooting from the shoulder, but then also like slowly, like it's kind of like you have the different tactical moving speeds with your weapon raise, but obviously it affects your accuracy and your weapon sway. That would have made this game a little bit better for me, but I can't complain. All right, like I can't complain overall. The player control is good. It looks good. It plays well enough. Yeah, there's some things that, you know, could be better, but for a first time release, for a first game, it's an achievement. It's an accomplishment. This is one of the most polished indie experiences I've ever had. Like, I have not run into bugs. I had a relatively smooth experience, so I can't complain. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I'm already drabbling on for, I'm monologuing as long as the guy in the beginning of Eli Reed in the beginning of the video. So we're at 21 minutes now. I'm gonna end the video. That's pretty much all I have to talk about. I recommend it if this is something that looks interesting to you. Read other reviews on Steam, get other opinions. Ultimately, you're gonna kind of have like this, if you get the game and you want to try it before the refund window, there's a little bit of a slog in the beginning where you're kind of gonna run out the refund window time, most likely, before you get to the meat and potatoes of this game, which is after you get your suit. So, you know, it is what it is. But would I recommend it? Yeah, if it looks like it appeals to you and you're okay with the idea of, like, you know, it's just a decently good experience with interesting maps, cool moments, you know, relatively okay AI, like, can't complain too much, right? And I said that like a bajillion times. So, my name's PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me on this video, and I'll see you on the next one.